My sister Callie has always been the kind of person who can turn a favor into a rule without ever raising her voice. If you met her at a brunch or a baby shower, you'd think she was the most put-together mom in the room. Hair done, nails neutral, phone always angled like she might be photographed at any moment. She speaks in this soft, practiced way that makes everything sound reasonable, even when it isn't. Especially when it isn't. I'm the opposite. Quiet. The one people forget is in the room until they need something done correctly. I'm 26. I work as a scheduling coordinator at a mid-sized dental office in our town. Boring title, but it means I'm the person who notices patterns. I see what breaks systems and what keeps them running. I'm good at details. I'm good at staying calm when other people start spinning. Callie is 31 with 2 kids under 6, Milo and Paige, and a husband, Jared, who smiles too much in public and disappears the second anything becomes inconvenient. We live 15 minutes apart. Same town, same family dinners, same we should get together soon texts that never mean anything until Callie needs a sitter. The babysitting started small, the way it always does. Just for an hour, she'd say. I'm running to Target. Then it became, Jared has a work thing, and you're so good with them. Then it turned into her sending me a screenshot of her nail appointment and saying, you can just come over at 2, right? The first time I tried to say no, she didn't argue. She laughed like I'd made a cute joke. Stop, she wrote back. You're literally their aunt. That was Callie's favorite sentence. Not please. Not are you able to. Just a title like it came with duties. And because I am their aunt, because Milo's laugh is the easiest sound in the world and Paige still likes to hold my hand when she walks, I kept making room for them. But I started noticing something else. Callie didn't ask the same way when she talked to other people. With friends, she'd post stories like, date night call, we're so lucky to have village people, with a little heart emoji over a photo of her and Jared dressed up. With family, she'd say things like, I don't know what I'd do without my sister, while handing me a diaper bag without waiting for my answer. It wasn't gratitude, it was branding. A week before spring break, my job finally approved my time off. I'd been saving for months. Not for anything flashy, just something that felt like mine. A 3-night trip to Miami with my friend Lena. Cheap flight. A tiny hotel in South Beach that had decent reviews and clean pictures. 2 beach days, 1 day for a boat tour Lena found on a deal site. Nothing wild. Just sun and quiet and not being responsible for anyone else's schedule. The dates were set. Thursday to Sunday. March 14th through March 17th. I printed the confirmation emails and slid them into a folder the way I do with everything important. I told Callie at Sunday dinner because I didn't want it to become a surprise she could pretend she didn't know. We were at my parents' house. The usual. Dad grilling outside even though it was still chilly. Mom fussing with side dishes. The kids darting around the living room like little pinballs. Callie was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, half watching Paige stack plastic cups. I'm taking spring break off, I said, casual. I'm going to Miami with Lena. Callie looked up, smiling in that bright way that feels like she's posing even when no one is filming. Miami. Cute. Yeah, I already booked it. Thursday through Sunday. I made sure I said the dates. Callie's eyebrows lifted for half a second. Not surprise. More like she was doing quick math. That'll be nice, she said, and went back to her phone like it didn't matter. But I noticed something. Her thumb paused on the screen, then started moving faster. I didn't think much of it then. Callie always moved like she had 10 conversations going at once. That night, when I got home, I saw her name pop up on my phone. Callie, hey, can you watch Milo and Paige the Friday of spring break? I stared at it for a moment. Friday fell on March 15th, the second day of my trip. I thought maybe she meant the Friday before. So I didn't answer quickly. I read it, set my phone down, made tea, and waited until my brain wasn't irritated. Then I replied, me. I'm out of town that day. I told you at dinner. Miami. March 14, 7. 3 dots appeared immediately. Callie, I know. That's why I'm asking now so you can plan around it. I reread it twice. The words were simple, but the entitlement sat underneath them like something heavy. Plan around it, as if my trip was flexible and her request wasn't. Me. I can't. It's booked. I won't be here. This time, the dots didn't show right away. When her reply came, it was longer. Callie? Okay, wow. I just thought family helps family. Jared has something important and I already committed to a thing. But it's fine. I'll figure it out. I watched the message sit there, trying to make me feel guilty without directly saying it. I didn't argue. I didn't justify. I didn't ask what something important was because I already knew how that went. Anything Callie wanted was important. Anything I wanted was cute. Me. I hope you find someone. Not available. I expected her to push. Callie always pushed, but she didn't respond for the rest of the night. The next morning, Lena texted me about swimsuits and sunscreen, and for a few hours I forgot about my sister. Then, around noon, my mom called. "Sweetheart," she said, voice already in that careful tone she used when she didn't want me to react. "Callie says you're refusing to watch the kids during spring break." I held the phone between my shoulder and ear and kept typing an email to a patient who needed to reschedule. My hands didn't shake. They never do. "I'm not refusing," I said. "I'm out of town," I told her. There was a pause. "Well, Mom said, she said you could just go another weekend." I stopped typing. "Another weekend," I repeated, not as a question, just to hear how it sounded out loud. Mom sighed like she was tired, like I was the one making things difficult. "She has this women's leadership retreat Friday. It's important for her. She already paid. A women's leadership retreat." That sounded like something Callie would post about. A photo of a name tag. A quote on a beige background. Her hand holding a coffee cup with her wedding ring angled toward the camera. "Okay," I said. She still knew my dates. Mom's voice softened. "Honey, she's stressed. And you don't have kids, so it's easier for you to be flexible." I didn't say what I wanted to say. That my life wasn't a blank space for other people to write on. That being childless didn't make my time less real. Instead, I said, "I'm not changing my trip." Mom made a small sound of disappointment, like I'd failed a test I didn't agree to take. "Just think about it," she said. "It would mean a lot." After I hung up, I sat in my desk chair at work for a moment and looked at my calendar. March 14th. Flight at 7:10 a.m., checked in online. Hotel confirmation. Everything set. And still, somehow, Callie had already started moving people around me like I was furniture. That evening, I got another message from Callie. "Callie, it's fine. I'll just bring them to you Thursday night then so you can watch them before you leave. Jared can pick them up Friday." I didn't answer immediately. I read it. I looked at the timestamp, 6:42 p.m. Then I opened my notes app and wrote, March 4th, 6:42 p.m. Callie suggests dropping kids off Thursday night for Friday babysitting despite Miami trip. It wasn't dramatic. It was just a fact. I'd learned at my job that facts are what matter. Dates, times, written records, not emotion. I wrote another line. March 3rd, Sunday dinner. Told Callie Miami, March 14. 1-7 in front of Mom, Dad, Lena not present, kids playing. I didn't know yet why I felt the need to document it. I only knew that Callie's version of events always grew cleaner and more flattering the longer it sat in her mouth. I set my phone down, finished my dinner, and waited until I could respond without heat. Me. No, I'm not taking them Thursday night. I'm preparing for my trip and leaving early Friday. Please don't bring them. This time, her response came in under a minute. Callie, LOLOK. Just remember this when you need something. I stared at the lol, the way she always dressed up a threat as humor so she could deny it later. Just a joke, just siblings, every year. I took a screenshot. Then I took another screenshot of the earlier messages. Then, calmly, I scrolled up and captured the entire thread from the first request to the last LOL. I saved them into a folder labeled Callie, not because I wanted a fight, because I didn't, Because fights are loud and messy, and Callie is good at loud and messy. Callie cries pretty and talks fast and turns things into misunderstandings. I don't. I just keep records. The next day, Thursday, I came home to a sticky note on my apartment door in my mother's handwriting. Callie said she might stop by tonight. Please be kind. My stomach didn't drop. It didn't tighten. It just went still, like a room when the music cuts out. Callie hadn't said she might stop by to me. She'd said it to Mom, and Mom had already assumed it was going to happen. I peeled the note off my door, walked inside, and locked the deadbolt. Then I did something I'd never needed to do before. I pulled my spare key off the hook by the kitchen and put it in my purse, because Callie had a spare too. She'd needed it once when I was out of town a year ago. Somehow, she'd never given it back. I sat at my table, opened my phone, and pulled up my building's security camera app that I paid for even though my friends teased me for it. The camera faced the hallway, and I waited. At 8:11 p.m., Callie's face appeared on the live feed, smiling like she was walking onto a stage, and behind her, just out of frame, I saw the top of Milo's dinosaur backpack. I didn't move. I didn't open the door. I watched as she lifted her hand toward my lock like she already owned it, and then I saw her pull out a key. But I didn't move when the key slid into my lock. I stayed seated at the kitchen table, my phone flat in front of me, the security feed filling the screen. The hallway camera caught everything except sound, which somehow made it worse. Callie's mouth moved like she was explaining something to the kids, probably smiling, probably already framing me as the obstacle. The key turned. Nothing happened. I'd had the locks rekeyed that afternoon. Not dramatically. Not announced. I'd stopped by the leasing office after work, signed a form, paid the fee. The maintenance guy was done in 20 minutes. I thanked him, took the new keys, and didn't text anyone about it. On the camera, Callie frowned. She tried again. Harder this time. Then she knocked. Light at first. Then louder. I waited until the knocking stopped before I stood up. I didn't go to the door. I didn't speak through it. I didn't text her. I just watched. She crouched down to Milo's level, gesturing with her hands, clearly annoyed now. Paige leaned against the wall, thumb in her mouth. After a minute, Callie pulled out her phone and typed. My phone buzzed. Callie, I'm outside. Open the door. I didn't respond. Another buzz. Callie, don't do this. The kids are tired. I took a screenshot, added it to the folder. Then another message came in, this one longer. Callie, wow, okay. I see how it is. I drove all the way over here because Mom said you'd probably be home. But I guess your trip is more important than your niece and nephew. I looked at the timestamp. 8:17 p.m. Then I did something deliberate. I typed a reply, read it twice, and erased it. Instead, I opened my notes app and wrote, March 7th, 8:11 to 8:20 p.m. Callie arrives unannounced with kids, attempts to use spare key, knocks repeatedly, texts demanding entry. I didn't need to argue with her. I needed a timeline. On the camera, Callie finally stood up straight. She looked directly at the door like she knew I was behind it, even though she couldn't see me. Her face hardened. Then she turned, grabbed Milo's backpack, and marched down the hall with Paige trotting behind her. 10 minutes later, my mom called. I let it ring. She called again. I let it ring. On the third call, I answered. And what happened? Mom asked immediately, voice sharp with embarrassment more than concern. Callie says you locked her out. I was home, I said evenly. I didn't invite her. I told her not to come. She had the kids with her, Mom said. You could have just talked to her. I did, I said, earlier this week, in writing. Mom exhaled. She said you're being cold. I looked at my table, at the neat stack of travel documents, at my suitcase half packed against the wall. I'm being consistent, I said. There was a pause on the line, the kind that meant she was deciding which side to stand on. Well, Mom said finally, this didn't have to be such a big thing, as I almost smiled. That sentence again. The universal excuse. I didn't make it a big thing, I said. I just didn't open the door. After we hung up, I went back to the camera app and clipped the footage. The system saved it with date and time stamped in the corner. I uploaded it to my cloud storage and labeled it clearly. March 7th, unannounced drop-off attempt. Then I packed my suitcase the rest of the way and went to bed. The next morning, my flight left on time. Miami was warm and loud and nothing like my apartment hallway. Lena talked enough for both of us, and I let her. We lay on the beach and didn't do much else. I didn't post pictures. I didn't check my family group chat. I did, however, check my email once a day. On Saturday afternoon, while Lena napped, I saw a new message from my sister-in-law, Jared's sister, Hannah. We weren't close, but we were polite. She lived 2 states away and had a way of asking careful questions. Subject line, "Quick thing," Hannah wrote. "Hey, random question. Are you watching the kids next Friday?" Callie mentioned something about childcare and I got confused. I read it twice. Next Friday had already passed. March 15th. I typed back slowly. No, I was out of town March 14th to 17. I told Callie in advance. A few minutes later, another email came in. Oh, okay. Thanks. Just checking. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. When I got home Sunday night, my phone was full of notifications I hadn't seen. Missed calls, group chat messages, a Facebook notification. I opened the group chat first. "Mom, let's all calm down. Dad, this doesn't need to be discussed here. Callie, I'm done being made the villain for asking for help." I scrolled up. Callie had sent a long message Saturday morning. "I don't usually do this, but I'm really hurt. I asked my sister for help during a work-related event I already paid for, and she chose a vacation over her family. I had to scramble last minute, and it was really stressful for the kids. I just hope we can all remember what matters." Under it, little heart reactions from 2 aunts, a thumbs up from a cousin. No one had asked me what happened. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened Facebook. Callie had posted publicly. A photo of her holding Paige, eyes closed like she was exhausted. Milo leaning against her shoulder. Caption, "Some seasons show you who's really there for you. Grateful for the people who stepped up when things got hard. Tear # mom life." I stared at the timestamp. Saturday, 9:03 a.m. I took a screenshot. Then I scrolled the comments. "So proud of you. You do so much for everyone. Can't imagine leaving family like that." I didn't reply. I didn't message anyone. I opened my folder. 5. Inside were screenshots of our texts, clearly showing I said no and why. The hallway camera footage, the Facebook post with timestamp. Hannah's email. I added one more note to my timeline. March 9th. Callie publicly implies abandonment despite prior notice. On Monday, I went back to work. At lunch, my coworker Jen leaned over the divider. "So," she said quietly, "are you really done helping your sister?" I looked at her. "Why do you ask?" She hesitated. "She posted something. My cousin knows her. It kind of blew up." I nodded. "I'm not discussing it." That afternoon, my manager called me into her office. "This is awkward," she said, closing the door. "But I want you to hear it from me. Callie emailed asking if you'd be available to watch her kids next month during another event. She listed me as a reference. I felt something shift then. There's not anger, clarity. She contacted my workplace? I asked. My manager nodded. She said you're usually flexible. I told her I couldn't speak to your personal life. "Thank you," I said. When I got back to my desk, I opened my email. There it was. From Callie Toe, Office Manager CC, me subject, childcare availability question. She'd written it like a resume. Polite, professional, as if she hadn't tried to force her way into my apartment days earlier. I added the email to my folder. Then I did something new. I opened a fresh document and titled it Childcare History. Callie, I started listing dates. Every time I'd babysat. How long, whether I was paid, rarely. Times she'd extended without asking. Times she'd assumed. I pulled bank statements, texts, calendar entries. By the end of the night, the document was 6 pages long. Patterns were clear when you stopped pretending they weren't. On Wednesday, my mom called again. "Callie's having a little get-together next weekend," she said. "Just family. She wants to clear the air." "A get-together?" I asked. "Yes, at her house." She said it might help everyone move on. I looked at my document, at the folder, at the quiet way things had lined themselves up. "I'll be there," I said. After we hung up, I scrolled through the Facebook event Callie had created. Family Appreciation Night. Public. 40 people invited. Under the description, she'd written, "Grateful for those who show up when it matters." I saved the page as a PDF. And as I did, something finally clicked into place. Because buried in the childcare document, between dates and times, I saw something I hadn't noticed before. Every important event, Callie claimed, every retreat, every dinner, every obligation fell on a Friday night, and every single one lined up with the same name on her shared calendar. There's Jared. Not work. Not conferences, poker nights, trips, weekends away. I opened Hannah's email again, then my text history with Jared. Then I searched one phrase, "Guys trip." And there it was, the receipt that tied everything together. And once I saw it, I knew exactly when and where it would come out. Callie's house had never been quieter than the week before her family appreciation night. On social media, it looked like a production. Beige and white invitations posted to her story. A poll asking whether people preferred sangria or mocktails. A reposted quote about chosen family in cursive font. In real life, she didn't contact me directly. Not once. Everything came through other people. Mom texted to confirm I was coming. Dad asked if I could bring ice. An aunt messaged asking if I was okay. Callie herself stayed silent, which told me she believed the narrative was already settled. That was always her mistake. I didn't rush. I didn't confront. I didn't hint. I prepared. On Tuesday night, I sat at my kitchen table and finalized the timeline. Not emotionally. Logically. I created a clean document. No commentary, no assumptions. Just dates, times, sources. March 3rd, Sunday dinner. Informed Callie of Miami trip, March 14th to 17, in front of parents. March 4th, 11:02 a.m. Callie texts request for babysitting on March 15th. March 4th, 11:09 a.m. I decline, citing book travel. March 7th, 8:11 p.m. Callie arrives unannounced with children. Attempts to use spare key, video evidence. March 9th, 9:03 a.m. Facebook post implying abandonment. March 11th, 2:18 p.m. Callie emails my workplace regarding childcare. Then I added a separate section. Jared's Schedule 1 didn't guess. I cross-checked. Jared wasn't careful. He liked to look busy, important, in demand. He used Google Calendar and shared it with Callie, and accidentally with me. 2 years ago, when Callie asked me to help organize things, she'd added me briefly to their shared family calendar. She'd removed me later, but not before I'd synced it to my phone. I hadn't checked it in months. I checked it now. Day. Guys trip, Lake Sinclair, Friday, February 16th. Guys trip Asheville, Friday, January 19th. Guys trip poker weekend, each one lined up with dates I'd been asked or told to babysit. Each one labeled non-refundable. I took screenshots. Then I opened my texts with Jared. There were only a few messages over the years, mostly logistics. But on March 4th, after Callie had texted me, there was one I hadn't thought about at the time. Jared. Hey, Callie mentioned you might be watching the kids Friday. Appreciate you. Timestamp, 12:26 p.m. After I'd already said no, I took another screenshot. By Thursday night, everything was organized into a single folder, backed up twice, labeled clearly. I didn't feel nervous. That surprised me. I felt settled. Family Appreciation Night was scheduled for Saturday at 6. Callie's house sits on a corner lot, the kind with a wide driveway and a porch designed for photos. She'd moved in 3 years earlier and never stopped treating it like a stage. I arrived at 5:55. I parked across the street. I didn't bring ice. Inside, I could see people already gathered. String lights on. Music low. Callie moving through the room in a light-colored dress that said, effortless if you didn't know how long it took. When I walked in, conversations paused. Not dramatically, just enough. Callie looked up and smiled. There it was, the smile she used when she wanted credit for being gracious. Hey, she said, voice warm. You made it. I said I would, I replied. She leaned in for a hug. I returned it lightly. No stiffness, no warmth. Drink? She asked. Water's fine. She gestured toward the kitchen. Help yourself. People drifted back into talking. I caught bits of it as I moved. So hard for her. Kids come first. Everyone needs support. No one said it directly to me. That was the point. Jared showed up 20 minutes later, loud and relaxed, wearing a quarter zip and holding a bottle of wine like a prop. He kissed Callie's cheek and squeezed her waist. Good turnout, he said. She beamed. I wanted to do something nice. You know, appreciation. He laughed. You're always thinking of others. I stood near the counter and drank my water. At 6:45, Callie clinked her glass. Okay, she said, smiling at the room. I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming. This year has been a lot. Sympathetic nods. And I've learned something important, she continued, that when you ask for help, you really find out who your people are. Her eyes flicked toward me. Just for a second. I'm so grateful, she said, voice steady, for the friends and family who stepped up when I needed them, who put the kids first, who showed up. There were murmurs of agreement. A few claps. I didn't react. Callie lifted her glass. To family. People echoed it. I waited. After the toast, she moved through the room again, touching shoulders, laughing. The story had been told. Now she was basking in it. I gave it time. At 7:20, my aunt pulled me aside near the hallway. Sweetheart, she said quietly, I know things have been tense. You know, Callie didn't mean anything by it. I know, I said. That answer seemed to satisfy her. She patted my arm and walked away. At 7:40, Jared started talking about the lake. Loudly. Best weekend, he said. No kids, no responsibilities. Just guys. Callie laughed. You deserved it. Someone asked, Didn't that overlap with your retreat? Callie waved her hand. Oh, that whole thing was a mess. I watched the exchange carefully. The room was full. Phones out. Stories being recorded. This wasn't private. Good. At 8:05, Callie gathered people again. I actually wanted to say one more thing, she said. Because family isn't perfect, and sometimes we disappoint each other. But forgiveness matters. Her gaze settled on me this time. Longer. I hope we can all move forward with grace. That was the invitation. The one where I was supposed to apologize, to explain, to smooth it over so she could look generous for accepting. I stepped forward before she could continue. Not quickly, not dramatically. Just enough. Callie, I said, calm, since this is about appreciation and clarity, do you mind if I add something? The room went quiet. Now we find myself into it. Her smile froze, but only slightly. Of course, she said. Go ahead. I reached into my bag and took out my phone, not to wave it around, just to hold it. I want to make sure everyone has the same information, I said, because there's been some confusion about what happened over spring break. A few people shifted. Callie's eyes flicked to Jared. I don't want to argue, I continued. I just want to be accurate. She laughed lightly. Okay, I looked around the room. At my parents, at the aunts, at the cousins, at the friends recording. On March 3rd, I said I told Callie I'd be out of town from March 14th to 17th. That trip was booked and paid for. Callie opened her mouth. I held up a finger, not aggressively, just a pause. I have the texts, I said, the timestamps, the calendar entries, and the video from my hallway camera from the night she came to my apartment with the kids after I'd already said no. Silence. Jared stopped smiling. Callie's face tightened just a fraction. And, I added, still calm, I also have something else about why the babysitting was needed. She shook her head slightly. This isn't the time. It is, I said. I unlocked my phone, and before I tapped the screen, before I showed anyone anything at all, I looked directly at Jared. Do you want to explain your guys' trips? I asked evenly. Or should I? The room didn't erupt. That's what people expect in stories like this. Shouting, crying, someone storming out. None of that happened. What happened instead was quieter, slower, worse for the people who'd been careless. Jared didn't answer me right away. He laughed once, short and uncertain, like he was waiting for someone else to jump in and rescue the moment. Come on, he said. This isn't... I didn't interrupt him. I didn't raise my voice. I just turned my phone toward the group. I'm not speculating, I said. I'm reading from a shared calendar Jared used. These are his entries. I tapped the screen once and let the image sit there. The date was large, clear. Friday, March 15th. Guys trip, Lake Sinclair. Non-refundable. Then I swiped. Friday, February 16th. Guys trip. Asheville, another swipe. Friday, January 19th. Poker weekend. Each one lined up with a time I'd been asked or told to babysit. I didn't explain that part yet. I let the pattern speak first. A cousin leaned forward slightly. Someone behind me inhaled sharply. Callie stepped toward me. Okay, she said, still smiling, but the smile was brittle now. This is unnecessary. We're talking about family, not... I agree, I said. That's why I didn't bring this up privately. Her smile flickered. I was told the babysitting was needed for work obligations, I continued. A leadership retreat. Paid commitments. I turned the phone slightly, just enough for the people closest to see the next screenshot. Jared's text. Time-stamped. Hey, Callie mentioned you might be watching the kids Friday. Appreciate you. Sent after I'd already said no. I was also told, I said, that I was being inflexible, that I chose a vacation over family. I looked at my mother briefly, then back at the room. On March 7th, I went on, Callie came to my apartment with the kids without asking. She attempted to use a spare key she no longer had. That's on video. I didn't play it. I didn't need to. I changed my locks that day. That was the first audible reaction. What? Someone whispered. Callie's face drained of color. You locked me out? She asked, voice rising. I secured my home, I said, after I said no multiple times. Jared finally spoke again, sharper now. Why are you doing this here? I met his eyes. Because the story was told here first, I said, publicly. I turned slightly and nodded toward the living room where Callie's Facebook post was framed on a tablet stand, cycling through photos from the night. Some seasons show you who's really there for you, I quoted calmly. That was posted while I was already out of town. After I'd said no, after you'd already left for the lake. Silence settled in layers. Not shock, recognition. One of the aunts cleared her throat. Psst. Callie, she said slowly, is that true? Callie opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Jared. Jared didn't look back. I didn't think it mattered how I phrased it, Callie said finally. I needed help. He needed time. I was doing my best. I nodded. I believe you needed help. That seemed to surprise her. But needing help, I continued, doesn't mean you get to volunteer my time, misrepresent my boundaries, or imply neglect when I say no. I scrolled one last time. The hallway footage thumbnail. Date and time stamped in the corner. I kept records, I said, because every time I said no before, it became a joke, or a guilt trip, or a story where I was the problem. I locked my phone and set it on the counter. I'm not asking for apologies, I said. I'm asking for accuracy. No one spoke for a long moment. Then my father stood up. "I think," he said carefully, "we should all take a break from this conversation." No one argued. People started drifting away in small groups. Conversations were hushed now, awkward. Phones came out, not to record, just to retreat. Jared grabbed his jacket. "We're leaving," he said flatly. Callie didn't move. "Callie," he said again. She shook her head once. "Go." He hesitated, then left without another word. When the door closed, something in the room shifted. Not relief, consequence. Callie sank onto the couch like her legs had finally given out. "I didn't think you'd do this," she said quietly. "I didn't either," I replied. That was the truth. I picked up my bag. "I won't be babysitting anymore," I said. "Not because of tonight. Because of everything before it." She looked up at me then. Really looked. "You're punishing me," she said. I shook my head. "I'm setting a boundary." I turned to my parents. "I love you," I said, "but I won't explain this again." They nodded. Slowly, I walked out. The next week was quiet. Too quiet. No texts from Callie. No group chat messages. A few relatives reached out, not to argue, just to say they hadn't known, that they were sorry they'd assumed. I didn't relive the details with them. I didn't need to. At work, my manager let me know Callie had withdrawn her request and apologized for involving the office. I thanked her and went back to my desk. 2 Fridays later, I noticed something. My calendar was empty. No last-minute requests. No emergencies. No assumptions. I filled it with things I'd been postponing. A class, dinner with friends, a weekend trip that didn't need explaining. I saw Callie once after that, at a larger family gathering. We were polite. Distant. She didn't ask for help. I didn't offer it. That was the balance. And for the first time in a long time, my time felt like it belonged to me. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just quietly.